Welcome, class. We're going to start with the yellow note sheet, just like we normally do in class. So 6.7 is on vertical angles. That's what we're doing today. And the biggest thing about vertical angles is to know two things. First of all, vertical angles are congruent. Let's write that at the top of the paper. All right, so vertical angles are congruent. And next, so first thing that's important to know is that vertical angles are congruent. And the second thing that I want you guys to know is that vertical angles have to be made by the same two lines. So when I talk about vertical angles, I'm looking at A and B. Right now they are completely across from each other. I used two lines to make them. And because I drew an X, or I crossed two lines, the angles across are equal. So here we've got A is equal to B. If I look at my picture below, C and D are not vertical angles. And this is a really hard concept for some students. They look like they're across from each other, so how are they not vertical angles? And the reason is because they don't use the same two lines. So to form angle C, we're going to use this line, okay, and we use this line here. These are not the same two lines used to make angle D. Angle D, we use this line here. So when we look at vertical angles, it has to be the same two lines that make the vertical angle. So actually C is a vertical angle to this E right here. So we use the same two lines to make the angles. If you can get that concept, you will be perfect for today. So let's look at our notes. I'm going to actually work from down to the top. So we've got two lines that intersect, and so the vertical angles are equal. So I can set up an equation saying that those two things are equal. So 11y minus 36 is going to equal, so this side is going to equal that side. So equals 63. And then solving for y is pretty easy. So I'm going to add 36 and get 11y is equal to 99, divide by 11, and I get y equals 9. In this one, the one right above it, sorry it's hard to read, didn't really copy that well, but we've got vertical angles and we actually have to find out what x is, what y is, and what z is. So my first question is, which angle is vertical with the 65? Is it x, is it y, or is it z? All right, so 65 and y are going to be vertical angles. So that means those two things equal each other. So y is equal to 65. And that's actually my final answer right there. Okay. So that's what y equals. Now we also have to find out what x and z are. So let's start with x. What is my relationship between x and 65? They are what type of angles? They are supplementary angles. So that means that these two angles are going to add up to 180. So I know that x plus 65 has to equal 180. I can solve for x. And then I'm going to get x is equal to 100. I'm sorry, not 100. There we go. So 115. So x is equal to 115. And then we have to find out what z equals. What is my relationship between x and z? So what is my relationship between x and z? They are vertical angles. So we know vertical angles are equal. So I know that z has to equal x, and that z is equal to 115, since x is 115. All right, and the one on top, once again, which angle is vertical angle to the 25 degrees? So which angle is vertical to that 25 degrees? Okay, so if I highlight the lines used to make the 25, So we know that that's 25, so the angle across from it must be E. So since vertical angles are congruent, we know E is equal to 25. All right, let's see if we can find the rest of the angles as well. What is my relationship between E and D? E and D are supplementary, so we know that they add up to 180. So instead of E, I'm going to put the 25. So 25 plus D is going to equal 180. I subtract the 25 from both sides. And I get D is equal to 155. All right, also looking at the picture, I see that there's a little square right here. So what does that mean A has to be equal to? So A is going to equal 90 degrees. All right, so we found what AD and E is. Let's see if we can find B and C. This next one's a little bit tough. So if I look at this angle D right here, and I look at what is vertical to angle D. So it's actually going to be two angles. So which two angles are vertical to D? And it's going to be A and B. So you can see here that this angle D, it's actually the same two lines here. So angle D and then these two. So I know that A plus B has to equal D. Okay. So these two are going to equal this one. I know what A is. A is 90. I know what D is. D is 155. So now I can solve for B. Subtract 90 from both sides. And I get B is equal to 65. And there are everything I need to know. Okay? So I now know A is 90, B is 65, the C is the 25, D is 155, and E is 25. All right, so there are your notes for the day. Go ahead and take out your packets, and we'll start working on 6.7 work in your packets.